Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and thank you so much for being part of this conversation. I want to thank Councilwoman Anthony and Councilwoman LaFortune. I also want to thank Rep. Agello and Rep. Kislak for being here for part of the conversation. So, essentially, what we want to talk about today is going to be broken down into two parts. The first one is the city's finances, and second is the proposal that we've put forth to solve some of the challenges that we have. On the first one, I think it's really important for us to continue to talk about this. We have some major and serious challenges. Now, the trick, right, and part of the challenge that we have on the administration side is that we have a lot of really positive news to share about the progress we've made with our finances. Most of that progress is with respect to our short-term finances. So on the one hand, we're having record surpluses. We're also creating a rainy day fund, paying off the deficit, budgeting responsibly, having our credit rating upgraded. So all of that is great. But how can we square this while at the same time talking about this looming financial challenge that's off into the future? I hope that when we walk out of the room today, folks will have a clearer understanding of how both of those things can be true. How our finances can be short over the short term, but still have a looming threat over the long term. The second reason why I think it's important for us to continue to have this conversation is because no one knows exactly when those long-term challenges are going to become so acute that receivership and bankruptcy are back on the table as an imminent possibility. It could be 10 years, it could be 15 years. No one knows exactly when. But I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that the longer that we wait, the more serious and more acute that imminent threat is going to become. But also, the more difficult it is going to be for us to do something about it. So what we're hoping to do is continue to sound the alarm and raise awareness of those challenges so that we can act now. So that's one part of the conversation for today. The second part of the presentation is not just ringing the alarm and alerting us to the challenges, but also proposing a real, tangible, earnest solution that we're putting forward. Now, this solution is massively complicated politically, financially, politically, and or logistically. So it's incredibly complicated, and we want to share with you why we think this is the best solution. In fact, not just it being the best solution, but simply remembering that in situations like this, there is no ideal outcome, there is no ideal solution. And frankly, being mayor of the city of Providence, sometimes the choice is which of all the possible outcomes is less worse. And so I'm happy to answer any questions as we get going into the presentation of perhaps folks have ideas, well, will this work? Will that work? Have you considered this? Have you considered that? I want you to know that all of this has been informed by years and years of work, not only by administrations and city councils before this administration came in, but as soon as we took office, we commissioned a 160-page report by the National Resource Network. And they presented the challenges with a number of different solutions, and all of that is publicly available. We had about 35 stakeholders in the community that helped inform it. I also want to recognize Councilman Sam Zaria, who's been a leading voice on this for quite a while, and he, on his role in the city council, led a committee to also study this issue. So there's a wealth of knowledge there that has also informed our thinking. And of course, this has been talked about in the community for quite a while, going back at least a couple of decades. So that's the second part of the presentation. In order to do the presentation, we're going to be led by the Chief of Staff, Nicole Pollock, who I'll hand the microphone over to right now. And after she's done, we also have a panel of folks in my administration. I have my Director of Finance, I have my City Solicitor, and also my Director of Sustainability. So if there are any technical questions that come from the audience on the finances, on the legal aspects, or on the environmental side of it, we also have the leading directors from my administration here to answer any questions. So once again, thank you very much for being a part of this conversation, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say.